Welcome back, fellow shop rats. It's a Talk About It Tuesday, and today we're going to talk about craftsmanship. It's a fun one. Don't go away. I'm Mike, and this is my car shop. I suppose it was doing the little instrument case for Chris that kind of brought me around to this idea. One of the things that Becky and I like doing while we eat dinner is watching shows where people are doing intricate work and fixing things and repairing old clocks and old toys and stuff like that. And I enjoy that kind of work. I grew up, I did, believe it or not, in the house of a model railroader, and I actually am a model railroader myself, although I've been in hiatus for quite a while with that just because of life circumstances, but I have the stuff and I will be getting that going again someday. But I grew up doing detailed work. For years I built model cars and would do a lot of adding, like adding plug wires and brake lines and little details that most people don't bother to do. So I'm used to doing very small, intricate work. One of the shows that we were watching recently, the guy was doing a super tedious detailed repair on something, and I don't remember what it was, and he said something that really struck me and I knew applied to what I do in my car shop. He said, doing craftsman work takes a lot of time. If you're going to do that kind of work, you just have to plan on it taking a lot of time. And that's great because I completely lose myself in that work and I just thoroughly enjoy the process. I get that. I think that is significant. And you know that I am not judging the way anybody does anything. I'm talking about what I enjoy. I do get thrown a lot of crap for the way that I do things sometimes, but it's from people who don't understand how you can just completely lose yourself when you're making something and crafting something out of nothing. And that's okay. They don't need to understand that. I'm a firm believer in you just do you. But it was really affirming to me because that craftsmen do understand and can resonate with that feeling, that escape, that thorough satisfaction of, in my case, taking a piece of sheet metal that has nothing and tweaking and bending and fitting and making something out of nothing and getting it all done like what we've been doing on the Forsyth Duster Hood of late, and doing something that's really respectable in the context of what we're trying to do. It may not be perfect, but it's an extremely fair presentation. I call it sympathetic work to the overall project. I'm not the invisible man, so don't get me wrong, but for a moment, just let me be clear. Sympathetic restoration is kind of what I call preservation. It's not something that I came up with, but it's a thing. It's looking at the entire context of something and doing something with it that represents not only what it was when it started, but where it was when you got it before you started doing your work on it. I'm sure if I haven't done an episode on that, I will be. But that's not the point of today. Craftsmanship. We're talking about craftsmanship. I do think that sympathetic restoration work is a form of craftsmanship where you are, for example, on the Forsyth Hood, we were dealing with that 24 gauge stamped steel. That's the structure of the hood itself, and I'm welding in 18 gauge patches to have a lot of meat to work with. There's only so far you can go before you start inflicting more damage than what you're repairing, and you just keep making bigger and bigger and bigger repairs because you're not being careful, or you're not, I don't even say that you're not being careful, but you're trying to get something perfect that probably never can be perfect because of the thinness of the material that you're working with. And that in itself, to me, is an art form. That in itself is a form of craftsmanship. Now, I'm certainly not saying I'm the best out there at that stuff. There are people that are way better than me. But I do know amongst all of the metal craftsmen that I know and all of the ones that I watch on YouTube, all of us say the same thing. There comes a point when you've got to just stop and say, that's as far as I can go. I am going to continue to just cause more damage than I'm going to do good. And that's very true of all work, but especially with craftsmanship. And I mean, let's face it, even if you're purchasing replacement parts and putting them in the car, you're still going to run into that same thing. You've heard me say it ad nauseum if you've been around the channel for any length of time. People say to me on a regular basis, why are you making that when you can just buy it? And my response always is, why would I buy it when I could make it? It's a matter of goals. It's a matter of what you're trying to get out of the hobby. It's a matter of, or obsession as some call it. It's a matter of what you enjoy about it. That's what it's all about. And I enjoy the craftsmanship. I enjoy the artisan part of it. I enjoy creating stuff out of nothing or very little. As you know, I try to demonstrate all kinds of different skills and different takes on preservation restoration projects, from the higher end work on cars like the 47 Ford to cheap and dirty work like we've done on a couple of cars that I can't think of right now, to middle of the road stuff like we're doing on the Forsyth Duster, which is a combination of fabrication and parts replacement, versus Stitches, which is almost 100% a fabrication project. All of those are just different takes on the hobby. We've done overlap welds, we've done plug welding and butt welding, we've done cut and butt type stuff. I can do all of that stuff, and each vehicle has a context, and in many ways each vehicle tells me what it wants, and I feel I have a responsibility to that vehicle to give that vehicle what it's wanting to become. I think, again, that's part of being an artist. And of course, many of you that know me know that I'm more than just the car guy. I'm also a musician, songwriter, but I also do pen and pencil, ink art. I mean, if you've seen Roderick Rat, who's our mascot here on the channel, I drew that. So I'm an artist in many, many ways, and I think you lose yourself in that. I can't think of the word, but kind of getting in the spirit of the project and listening to what the project wants. It's the same thing when I write a song. I'll come up with an idea, and then the song literally starts telling me what it wants to be. I think all of that is part of craftsmanship. It's not just about skill, but there's an intuition that goes with it for you to be able to create exactly what that specific project needs or wants. Again, let me be clear that I'm not saying any way is right or wrong. I'm just explaining the differences between buying and replacing parts versus craftsmanship and going way deep and making something out of nothing. Okay, that'll do it for this one. I appreciate you watching. Drop it down there in the comments. What are your thoughts? Be kind, rewind, and we will catch you on the next one. Oh yeah, like, share, subscribe, please. The more the channel grows, the more I can do. The more I do, the more the channel can grow. You know, it's one of those things. At least that's what the channel is telling me. All right, don't forget, it's important.